welcome to another episode of Shooting
the Shit with Rachael
and Neal Young. So we're talking all things real estate photography business growth, mindset, and getting it done. Here come your favorite true entrepreneurs, Rachael and Neal Young, shooting the shit.
I have a ferret on the podcast. Like if we're kind of in a slump, like what kind of things do you do?
Talking about a boob light.
Straddling a power line.
Nice photo.
Ooh, I need that.
I'm like red right now because I'm embarrassed. I go like this. I love it.
Come in.
Sure, use your podcast voice.
You know, over here, I'm pitting out.
Drone's like flipping to the ground.
That's a great callback.
Chit-chatting.
Is that what you call that? Hey! I'm just going to smile really big and let Neal take it from here. Neal, why don't you give us a warm
Hey!
welcome?
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Shooting the Shit. I feel like it's been ages because we did have a little hiatus for Thanksgiving week there.
We did.
Yeah,
Recording
so-
has been minimum. Minimum.
I don't know. Minimal.
It's been very little, people. Sorry if we are not putting an episode out every single week, but we did have a holiday. We went to PMRE. Even Neal was sick.
I've been sick. My whole family's been sick. I'm already pasty white. It's November, 30th today. And Rachael looks like there's sunbeams just still smattering across her face. And I look like I've been left in the cold for a month already, which I kind of have, but
Neal, there's this little button on my light that I use and it says warm. And it just makes me look tan. No.
I already used that button, Rachael.
Dang it.
No, I'm just kidding.
Dang it. No, I went to Arizona. I went to Arizona last week to go see my dad for Thanksgiving and for my 40th birthday. And we golfed 2 rounds of golf. I sat on their patio. Can we just talk about the retirement life for a minute and how fantastic it is? Like my dad has been living down in Arizona for 10 years now. And they live in a trailer, which doesn't sound glamorous, but they've put stucco around the trailer. It's like a nice trailer. I think it's 750 square feet, but it's in a community of a ton of these trailers, and it's on a golf course. So they have a little golf cart that they use to get around. They have this like outdoor patio area with a bar. They have a keg of shock top at all times that they like people just walk by and come in and have a drink like randomly. They have so many friends that just come over. They had actually talked about moving into a neighborhood. There's like Traditions or not Traditions. What was it called? Sun City West is like a big community over there. And they're nice homes. They're, anywhere from like $500 to $1 million homes. But he said no, because the community vibe is so different there. Like you wouldn't have friends that would just walk by and see you outside. It would be, you'd have to call people and invite them over. And they love the social aspect of living in this neighborhood. So they are so happy to be there. I think my husband and I are actually going to invest in there and buy a house in the next couple of years. So
that sounds really fun.
Yeah, rent it out, go stay in it for a month at a time, maybe a couple weeks at a time. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it was great. We just sat out on their patio and I just soaked up the sun. It was like 70 to 75, which is absolutely perfect weather for laying in the direct sunlight.
Nice.
I didn't even put sunscreen on. I was like, let it burn. I don't even care. Bring it on. And I did not burn.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, so we want to talk a little bit about that. Actually, we're going to originally talk about another topic, but since that came up, let's just talk about retirement, right? So if you're new to the business, or even if you're a couple of years in like me, that may not be on your radar yet, because the first thing that happens is survival, right? It's just you're going from getting a paycheck every week or month or whatever you get, and now switching to it's all on you, and you're just trying to survive. Maybe just going full time. But after that, once you settle, when you're at the point that I'm kind of at, which is where, okay, next thing you got to do is start figuring out what you can do for savings for your future for retirement, because nobody's covering that for you, right, Rach?
Right. So when I first got I had a retirement plan with my ex-husband. Like he had his own business and he would put money away every year for a retirement plan that I basically had in my name. And so when I got divorced, I had a little chunk of money that was in a 401k. And then I carried that over and I was contributing to it. So I kind of knew and I'd had employers that I had worked for that, I had 401ks from and stuff. So I'd rolled those over as well. but I really didn't have a lot and I didn't have a real plan. Like when I got divorced, it was like, okay, now I'm on my own 100%. Like, what the heck am I going to do for my retirement? So I went out and got the book Money by Tony Robbins and read that. And it really, actually, I've never finished it. I lied. I've read half of that. It's a really long book, but it like opened my mind to this whole concept of investing your money. And I also read Rich Dad Poor Dad. So that helped me understand like real estate investing. But the Tony Robbins one is all about the stock market and how to invest your money in 401ks and stuff like that, and stocks and bonds and whatnot, which I don't really do much of that. But anyways, it was a good thing for me to read to really just wrap my brain around like, okay, this is a real thing. Like I want to retire when I'm 50. So I want to retire in 10 years. And then I'm going to live to be 100. So I need 50 years of income to live off of without actually working. That's a long time. So right now, one thing I would encourage all of you to do is really think about how much you need to survive every month. Like how much would you comfortably be able to live off of? Like for me, I want 20 grand a month to be able to live off of comfortably. And that would allow me to be able to travel, buy whatever I want, give money to my kids when they need it, fly people out, go to fancy dinners, like whatever I want, buy the designer shoes if I want the designer shoes, right? Own my Lamborghini. I'm a little ridiculous here. Donate to the church. I do donate money to the church.
There you go.
I'm not totally selfish. But you know, like I know what my number is. And so if you take that and you multiply that by 50 years, like that's a big chunk of change. So now if you do it that way, or you think, okay, I need 30 years for retirement. If you're going to retire when you're 60, like you need 30 years to live till 90, you got to figure out how much money you're going to need so you don't run out. Because a lot of these seniors, like when I go visit my dad in Arizona, they're on a fixed income. Like my dad's fine. He has plenty of money. Like he lives very frugally, but they do have a lot of extra if they need it. However, my aunt is on a very tight fixed income. And she was talking about, oh, I need a new water heater, but I have to wait, 3 or 4 months before I can afford it. And I'm like, wow, like, and that's real. And think about the cost of food and gas and how like everything has gone up so much in the last couple of years. And it's only going to go up more every year. So you got to account for that as well, like inflation, cost of goods, all of that. So not to scare you, but
No, but
it's better
you
to
got to
be
think about it.
prepared. Yeah.
And like my grandparents who did a good job and had savings and all this. The tricky part too is then by the time you're at an age where maybe you need to go to some kind of assisted living or something, that gets really crazy expensive real quick.
Yeah.
So, if you can't always rely on your family to be able to help you out in that scenario. So you gotta be planning a little bit for that. And this is the phase where I gotta start thinking about. Now I've done some little things in the past, right? One, definitely Rich Dad Poor Dad. That is a really interesting read or listen if you're me.
It's a great book. Everyone should listen to that.
And really about it's kind of this mindset of the traditional, what they teach in school and all, or what they don't teach in school, versus you're already on the right footing doing your own business, right? You're heading in the right direction to be in control of what you can make. But anyway, I would definitely read or listen to that. And then the one pointer I will say that from the things that I've heard and read about savings is one of the most important things. And this is kind of the opposite reaction that everybody has about savings, because right now we don't have much money. Let's say if you're younger, especially, you probably don't have a lot of money. So you're like, well, in 10 years, I'll have more money and I'll save then. But the way compound interest works, the earlier you can put anything into like a Roth or IRA or something like that, it's going to be worth so much more in 20, 30 years than if you put $100 in now versus in 10 years you put in $1,000. You're gonna, it's you'd think that, oh, that'd be better, that $1,000, but you're going to be doing so much better just putting even $100 a month into a Roth IRA or something like that when you're younger, because you've got 30 years for that interest to kind of build and compound and snowball essentially. I don't know the exact math to give you a great example of it, but look into it and you will realize that the sooner you can put anything in a Roth IRA or something like that, with a decent, interest rate, whatever your savings, whatever that case
Return,
may
yeah.
be, the better return, the better you're going to be doing. So do that right away. Look into that. It's not hard to do a Roth IRA or something like that, some kind of basic stock package or something like that. Go to your bank, ask them about it. You can get into something and you could put in a very small amount. It doesn't have to be a ton of money. I think that's another misconception people have, is that you don't have to put in a ton of money. You could literally do $100 a month just to be doing something. And that's what I started doing years ago. So very simple like that. And I need to step it up now, but that's all I ever did. But at least it was something going. And then the other thing, I have a little bit of money in, oh geez, now I'm going to blank. What did I tell you before,
Bitcoin.
Rach?
Bitcoin. Crypto.
Crypto. I haven't done it in a while though. It's just sitting there, but I did it at a good time where it actually tripled in value. The few $100s I had in there, now I have a few $1,000s in there, but that's fun. You could dabble in that. And I would say just dabble in a few things.
Be careful in there.
Don't go crazy. Don't go crazy, but put some, you could put some, like, well, the way I look at that stuff, the way I look at crypto is kind of like, I look at it, I used to do it when I was waiting tables more because I always had cash in my pocket. And so it'd stop after I waited tables. I'd say, okay, if I had a goal of, I needed to make $200 that night and I made 250, I might put $30 into crypto. I look at it kind of like the same way I look at going to Vegas. It's money that I can gamble, and if I lose it, no big deal. I wouldn't put my life savings in there. I wouldn't recommend that because I think it's too volatile. But if you can put a little bit of money here and there, like, oh, I got an extra $100, throw it in there, that it's not going to break your bank. It's not going to kill you if, in 5 years, crypto doesn't exist. No biggie. I look at it like, I'm willing to gamble and lose this when I go to Vegas kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I put money in crypto and it's pretty much all gone. That was like 2 years ago. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just going to throw some here, and here. I was really stupid about it. And now my money is, I don't know. I haven't even looked. It's probably barely anything, but that's okay. We sold our 2000 Land Cruiser. I took that money and put it into crypto. And now I'm like, I should have kept the damn Land Cruiser and fixed it up. It would have been worth like 3 times as much with the value of cars, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Right.
But whatever. Live and learn. Can't win them all, right, Neal?
Yeah. So do you have an IRA or something like that?
Yeah. So I have a solo 401k, which is an employer 401k. So if you're a sole proprietor, if there's only one employee in your business, or if your spouse works in your business, then you can have a solo 401k. A solo 401k allows your employer and the employee to contribute money. So you can contribute more throughout the year because there's limits on how much you can put into these IRAs. I think the IRA limit is like $6,000 a year that you can contribute. So like if you're like me and I started late, I was like 34 when I started really investing. I'm like, I need to be putting 10 or 15,000 a year into my retirement account so that it actually turns into something, and I can't do that with an IRA because it's only a $6,000 a year maximum that you can contribute. So the solo 401k allowed me to be able to put more in. So I have that. And then I also have a self-directed IRA, which is a little bit more technical and advanced. It's not just throw it in the stock market, let it build. You actually loan it out to a small business. You can use it to buy property with, like invest it in real estate. And then the returns just go back into that self-directed IRA account. But there's a lot of rules. Like you can't touch the property. If we were to use my self-directed IRA to buy a house, let's say we bought a house in Washington and I went over and the stairs needed painted and I had to paint the stairs, that if the IRS if they found out, they could cancel the account, like make you pay taxes on the remaining balance. Like it's bad. It would basically like they'd kick you out, like you're done. So you can't touch the project at all. So not what we're doing with it. I actually loaned it out to a business in 2020 for a year and made 20% on it. And then I have it loaned out to another small business right now for 4 years. So, and then when I get that, hopefully I'll get that money back in 2 years and then I can loan it out again to someone that I know, like a real estate investors, or there's some like crowdfunding where you can be part of like an apartment complex that an investor is building. There's a lot of different ways that you can invest it safely that you can get better returns than just from the stock market. Of course, I'm using lawyers to look over all the contracts to make sure everything's legit, everybody's signing everything. So, it would hold up in court if something went wrong. It is a little bit more risky doing this kind of investing because, you're basically playing the bank. And if someone doesn't pay you back, you're kind of screwed. Or, I mean, the stock market, I guess you could say that's risky as well because that can tank, as we've all seen, or go crazy. So, but yeah, so far it's been great. I enjoy having the control of it. And then I also have the 401k, which is more of like a steady. So, and then we also have an investment property. So we have an Airbnb that we just got going this year. Finally, it's so exciting.
That is cool.
And then we're hoping, so my long game is to have passive income. So if I can retire in 10 years, I want to have like at least 10 grand in passive income every month. Like 5 to 10 would be great. And that coming from real estate that we own.
So did you ever break down the actual number? So 50 years, did you ever break that down? Do you know if you're right now, how close are you to hitting your goals for putting away money for retirement? Do you know that?
Oh, I'm not close at all.
I just want
No.
people to know, like,
No, I'm not close at
especially
all.
because people like me who are just maybe they're just a single person business right now, and then
Yeah.
they hear you talking about all this stuff, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Wow, she's got all these employees. She must," I think it's interesting just to know that you're not still even hitting the goal yet. So,
No. And for me, it's like, I know I keep saying I want to retire in 10 years when I'm 50, but I know I'm still going to have my hand in some of my businesses. My goal is to be able to move out of Washington state and move to a different country or a different state somewhere. Costa Rica would be great. And just be off the grid if I want to be, right?
mm,
Like have that option. Maybe I still check in with the business, but having everything set up to where it's basically running on its own and I'm just getting a paycheck in the mail, right? And that passive
right.
income could be what I'm living off of. Maybe we have property managers that manage all the properties and we have to do very minimal work on it. So I don't ever see myself 100% fully retiring until I'm probably like 75. I mean, I look
Yeah.
at my mom. My mom's 70. She'll be 70 this year, and she's a hairdresser. She's been doing hair for like 40 years, and she's still working. She owns her own business. She has so much energy. Like she's doing great, and she enjoys what she's doing still to this day. So I think like full on retiring at 50, I think I'd go a little crazy golfing every day and laying by the
Yeah.
beach.
Yeah.
I'd get
And
bored.
yeah. And that's a good clarification that you're saying in 10 years, you're not just saying you're not going to work and you're just going to be living off your savings at that point. You're still going to have things, businesses running, and still making money, but less physically working yourself. Yeah.
Right.
And
The
that's
ability to take 2 or 3 months off if I want to
right.
go just be. And maybe
Right.
I end up loving that and that's just my new life and I just sell the business and sell all the properties and live off that income. Who knows? I mean, we'll
Yeah,
see
and I
about
love that
that.
too about like what we're doing right now, real estate, everybody's real estate photographers, right?
Mhm.
But in 5 years, when you hit these goals and you do things, you don't know what the new opportunity is that you might be interested. You might still keep that business running with somebody else, at the head.
Mhm.
And you might put your money somewhere else. And I don't know, you might be like me and someday still hope to have the money raised to run a summer camp.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
But anyway, yeah, so that's what I like about having our own businesses. I want to say one of the other things too, that we have an advantage that we have being photographers is, take advantage of the fact that you've got all these realtors that you work with and they're knowledgeable. And
Mhm.
I don't know about you, Rachel, but several of the realtors that I work with have multiple properties that
Oh yeah.
for themselves, right? They
Mhm.
understand the value of properties
Mhm.
and they've also done flips and sold them and all this kinds of stuff. So they've got a lot of knowledge about, what you could do to make money. And one of the things I think, if you don't already own a home or if you do own a home, one of the things I was picking their brains recently about, I just feel like there's smarter things I could be doing. What should I be doing? And a couple of realtors that I really trust and have great relationships with that both had the same advice and both had done it and it helped them and really set them up for success. And that was instead of buying a single family home, buying a multifamily. And they recommended buying, and in my city, Manchester, there's a lot of these multifamilies, but they recommend buying a 3-family home that you could live in. And basically,
It's called house hacking where so you would live in one unit, right?
mhm,
And then you
yep.
would rent out the other 2 units.
Exactly. And what you want is,
Mm.
you obviously got to look for the right deal, but what you want is for, a lot of times you look at these listings, say on Zillow, they'll usually give you an information, a breakdown of if there are active tenants, for example, they'll tell you what they are currently paying for those. And so then you can figure out what the mortgage would be on that particular property. And what you want is the other two units to pay for the mortgage so that essentially you're not paying rent yourself. And
Mhm.
so then you're pocketing, saving that money for another purchase. And the part that I never got about this, that I picked their brains about, is like, okay, but then I don't want to live in that multifamily forever. And they're like, yeah, no, we didn't either. They stayed there for a few years. And this is the part I wasn't certain about. I'm like, well, if you have that, I was just thinking, okay, then you have that, then you have to sell it to buy a house. They're like, no, 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 no. You keep that one, because I was thinking about it as looking bad that you would have this property that would be hard to buy another property to have like a regular house for yourself eventually. And they're saying, no, the benefit of that is that that unit is not looked at as like an expense against what you earn. That's
Mhm.
looked at as money. That's all
Right.
money coming in. So, and then that new unit, once you move out, you fill that unit in. Now you've got three units making money, and that home is looked at almost like another business for you. So you're actually looking like you have more income to buy a bigger, better house than you could have before. Whereas I was thinking, well, you had that mortgage, what could you do? You probably have to get rid of it just to get another mortgage. So,
Right, because your debt
uh,
to income ratio
mhm,
would look bad. But so they
right.
will take 80% of what you're earning. So let's say
Mhm.
you charge, $2,000, then 1,600 of that would count towards your income, right? So then you could count that as income. So,
Right.
if the mortgage is $2,000 and you're getting 1,600 per unit, and that's three, you have
Right.
plenty to cover that mortgage. So it's not going to weigh you down when you're buying the next one. So one of the other things too with living and doing a house hack. So if you buy an investment property, I think the required down payment is 25%
Mm,
for an investment property, unless you're going to live in it. If it's going to be your primary residence, you can
right.
get these low down payment, like 3 to 5% down payments. So,
Right.
but you are required to live in it. I believe it's 2 years. They may have changed it to one, but I think it's 2 years.
I think they said something
It's two.
about 2 years. I think
Yeah.
that sounds right. Yeah.
So then you could use those 2 years to save money to then buy the next duplex or whatever. Or even you could even just, there's people in Seattle that do this house hacking where they buy like a 5 bedroom house in Seattle,
Yep.
and then they like put names on the cabinets, like they rent out the rooms, basically, just the
Mm,
rooms themselves. So we're thinking about, my husband has a house down at a lake house, and we're thinking about renting out the rooms in a couple years. And we could probably get $900 a room. There's 4 bedrooms. I'm like, that's great. It's
yeah.
crazy. And then if we rent it out to college kids, we don't have to renovate it because they don't care. 900 bucks. We even asked him now, like some of my stepson is 21. And we asked him like, what would you guys pay $900 a month for a room at your dad's house? And they were like, heck yeah, that's a steal. And I'm
Right.
like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
pretty
And then
cool.
there's nothing stopping you too from having that multifamily and then
Mhm.
buying another multifamily and moving into that new multifamily,
Mhm.
right? So that you're still living
Right.
there
Just
so you
keep
don't
doing
have
it
to pay that deposit.
until you get
So,
family and kids, and then it's going to be an
yeah,
issue, but
a
then
lot of
you
these
figure something else out.
a lot of these realtors have figured it out. Maybe that first one they were also the landlord, and they were the maintenance, and they were doing all
Mhm.
that. But then eventually they get several of these properties, and then they get property management teams to take care of that stuff, so they don't even deal with that stuff anymore. So,
Yeah.
you
So,
know, it doesn't make sense for me right now, just because what we want to do with our family and our 6-year-old daughter, we'd like to be in a different kind of neighborhood. But if it weren't for that, I kind of wish that if we could go back in time, that we did that for our first home when it didn't matter. We lived in an apartment, and I didn't know at the time that I could have probably bought something. I just didn't think it was possible for me to buy something. I talked to a realtor just like on a whim, thinking this is never going to happen, and we ended up buying a house, and it was like I didn't know this is even something I could do after we're living in that apartment for several years. So don't underestimate what might be possible is another thing too. You might be in an apartment or something like that, and that money's kind of just going out the window. It might be possible for you to get a property. I had no money at that time. Now that was a different time than right now, so the same thing might not be possible, but there are programs and incentives for first home buyers, especially. So
Mhm.
if it's something you don't have a property yet, I would look into it. And if not for right now, start thinking about it for the future and planning towards that goal, because that can be, a house is a good investment for your money as well, just even living in a regular house as well. So
Yeah, definitely. And then, so just remember, in order to buy a house, you have to have 2 years of work history to show. So as your own business, you got to be doing this business for 2 years, and they'll take the average of those 2 years of income.
mm,
So keep that in mind too. A couple good resources for you if you want to learn more about real estate investing. Bigger Pockets is a podcast all about real estate investing, and it is awesome. And
mm,
it's amazing. Start listening. You'll be blown away. It's great. And then a guy in Seattle that I shot for Real Producers, and I've done
mm,
some real estate jobs for him as well, James Daynard. He has a great YouTube channel too. He does, I think, over 200 flips a year, something like that. He's a wild man. He's got a whole team. It's incredible what he's doing. So, and he always puts out educational content. He'll walk you through these hoarder houses, and it's crazy. I'm like, dude, the things you purchase, like you would never want to buy that, but it makes sense to him, and he flips it, and they're absolutely beautiful, and he does a great job. So James Daynard, he's on Instagram. I want to follow
mm.
him. Good
Okay.
resources for you if you want to learn more about real estate investing. For the 401k and investing in the stock market, I would recommend finding a custodian that could help you with your investments. There's a lot of third parties out there that will kind of help to figure out what you're comfortable with, like if you want to be risky or if you want to be more conservative with your investments, and they kind of trade for you and figure it all out for a minimal fee. So
Mm,
look into that as well.
yeah. Oh, one other tiny little piece of advice just from my own personal experience. We went through some hard times and I had good credit prior to that, and my credit got annihilated. If there's nothing you can do to prevent it, I mean, stuff happens, right? I lost my job and all that kind of stuff, and it's very difficult. And we had to be late on payments for mortgages and all this stuff. It was very difficult and really messed up our credit. So one thing I will say though is, as you're doing your business, just be smart about making sure your payments are on time so that you can keep a good credit score. Do whatever you can to look into what you can do to make your credit score look better. There's a lot of YouTube videos about how to make your credit score look better in 6 months to a year. And I've worked on those, and I finally have my credit back in a good position again. But this is something that a lot of people don't realize. Not only do you need a good credit score to like buy a car, what a lot of people don't think about is a better credit score will save you money
Hmm.
uh, when you're buying or leasing that car. Because for our specific example, we were leasing a car because we're in a certain bracket for our credit score. We had to pay more a month for the same car that somebody with, just the person right next to me had a little better credit score than me. They'd be paying a lot less a month. So a lot of people don't talk about that, but you really want to make sure you have good credit score for that kind of thing. Not just so you can get the loans, but also so you can get the loans and not get robbed at the same
Right. It gets
time,
you
which
better
which
interest rate.
yeah,
Yeah.
which we have been getting robbed, and because we had bad credit. So something to keep in mind.
Well, we hope this episode was helpful to get you thinking about your retirement and how important it is to really start planning and investing in it now, because it's coming sooner than you think. Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, it's good to have a plan and to be working towards your goal of sitting on a beach or playing golf all day or whatever you want to be doing when you're
Yeah.
retired.
Yeah, and hopefully you'll be in the same retirement community, buy a trailer next to Rachel's or my trailer, and we
Yes.
can all have our own taps and have parties. And so let's do good for our retirement. It's gonna be fun.
Neal, you should definitely buy into this community. You'll love it.
Oh, I
It's
love it, dude.
amazing.
I love it.
It's
I've
so
seen
good.
some cool ones out here too, down by the beach. They have some of these, and I took photos of one of them. I don't do photos of trailers that often, but
Yeah.
this one, I forget now. I was thinking it was going for $750,000 just because it was walking distance to the beach,
Oh,
and it was a
wow.
nice, cute little community. But there's nothing crazy going on there, and I was like, how much for this?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, these
maybe
ones are
it's
all under 200 as of now. I told my dad, if you find one for 50
oh,
that needs fixed up, let's buy it and we'll flip
that's
it.
the ticket, right?
I'm
If
like,
the
you'll be
market
the
and
contractor, and we'll be the bank. He's like, okay. I mean, he's going to hire people to do it, but he can oversee the whole thing. So
yeah, totally.
yeah, it'll be fun.
That's genius. Look, and as the market starts to change, there might be opportunities for deals coming up soon. That would be exciting. You know, there could be things like that for flips and investing in things, even if you're going to live there or whatever. But yeah, okay, cool. So anyway, we look forward to seeing you all at retirement.
Come stop by for a beer. I'll probably drink when I'm 70.
Definitely. There's gonna, you're gonna need to. At that point, come on.
I mean, who cares? Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.